everyone, today I am here to do a Mashup review. You guys know I love doing these. It is where I take my 3 most recent reads, I try to put them all in the same genre, and review them all for you in one video. I tell you what they are about, what I rated them, what I liked, and what I didn't like, and they are all spoiler free. So today I'm talking about some recent YA contemporary release I was very much anticipating, and I've read them finally, so I want to share my thoughts. As always, there will be timestamps down below if you want to hear about one particular book. The books I'll be talking about today are Hungry Hearts, which is an anthology edited by Elise Chapman, If I'm Being Honest by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigma-Broca, and Maybe This Time by Casey West. So without further ado, let's get on right into it. The first book I want to talk about today is Hungry Hearts. So like I said, this is an anthology. I believe it's 13 Tales of Love and Food. It has a whole bunch of authors, S.K. Ali, Adi Assad, Rin Chupacabra, Elise Chapman, J. Coles, Sana Menon, Anna Marie McLemore. There's a whole bunch of stories in it. So anthologies I don't love a ton. I know they're very popular. There are some that I really enjoy, like I really love Slasher Girls and Monster Boys. That's like kind of a Halloween one. I also really enjoy My True Love Gave to Me. It's kind of wintry one. So I really seem to enjoy like seasonal and themed ones. This one is about food, and I have to say I really enjoyed it, much to my surprise. I did not think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. So Hungry Hearts is 13 short stories by different authors, but they all kind of interconnect. In this book we have this place called Hungry Hearts Row, which is right here, as you can see. It's like a neighborhood of like food restaurants. It's like in this one town, it's like the omega of food. There's any restaurants, there's a whole bunch of convenience stores, there's food trucks, there's any kind of thing you can think of. So each one of these 13 stories takes place in one of these stores, or is about somebody visiting one of these stores or food truck in Hungry Hearts Row. So sometimes you'll see the same character in different stories just as briefly, but I really loved that aspect of it. Overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5. I feel like it was a solid anthology. I loved also that each story had food connection. There didn't have to be like somebody working at a restaurant. They could have just been visiting a food truck or something and have an experience with food, or sometimes it's really in their tradition and their culture and their family, and you learn about it. And I know when you think about this book and you see it, you think it's going to be all contemporary stories. No, there's one that's really like kind of superhero-y. There's one that's kind of like magic is in the food, and they kind of, that's how they make the food. So this has a whole bunch of different genres in it. If I could pick my favorite, which I have not, by the way, I will try to do my best because it's been about a week or two since I finished this. The Grand Adventure by Sana Menon. I also really enjoyed Rain by Senga Mendana. Hopefully I'm pronouncing all this right. Please forgive me. Really enjoyed Kings and Queens by Elise Chapman. Not like the Rin Chupacabra one. It was a little bit too outside my comfort zone. I also really, probably my favorite I think might be Hearts a la Carte by Karina Rajani. I'm so sorry. That's the superhero one. I just love that. I wanted that to be a full-length novel, honestly. I thought that was great. Bloom by Phoebe North was also a great one. I also really enjoyed the last one, I believe, which was called, oh my gosh, Pandera Pastiera by Anna Marie McLemore. That was beautiful. I think, yeah. Overall, I would say there was only about 3 short stories in this book that I really didn't enjoy. The rest were solid. I really enjoyed this book and would highly recommend it. In case you're a foodie, like I love food. I don't know a lot about food, but I like cooking and I like reading about food or watching like a movie about people that cook food, chefs. I just really enjoy that. So I think this is a great book to read for that. Plus, a lot of the stories have to do a lot with family and the connection to food, and it just fills you up warmly inside. So I really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5. Would highly recommend this one. Next up, I want to talk about If I'm Being Honest by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigma-Broca. So this is their second book. Their first book last year was called Always Never Yours, and I enjoyed it. I didn't really love it. They're known for like kind of taking Shakespeare plays and kind of translating them into modern, retelling them, if you will. I forgot what last year's one was, but this one is a retelling of Taming the Shrew. Also, it was heavily recommended to me because it had 10 Things I Hate About You vibes, because that was also Taming the Shrew retelling, which if you didn't know, my favorite movie of all time, forever and ever, is 10 Things I Hate About You. Like, there's nothing that could be wrong with that film.
But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
I'm obsessed with it. So, needless to say, I had very high expectations going into this book because of mainly the 10 Things I Hate About You vibe. Now, was it like 10 Things I Hate About You? Not really. Was it like Taming the Shrew? I think so. I don't read a lot of Shakespeare, so I don't know. Overall, I give this book a 4 out of 5. I will say I enjoy this one much more than their first one. I didn't really connect with their first one a ton. This one I did like. We follow a character named Cameron who is pretty much, like, she's honest. She's brutal. She will cut straight through you. She's very blunt. Like, she'll, you know, tell you when you're wrong, and she's popular, and she's just not the best. She's very shallow and conceited, and just, she's not the greatest. And so she has her eye on this one guy. She's been friends for a while, and she finally wants to take the next step and for them to be together. And after a kind of altercation she has where she's really blatantly honest with somebody and really just downright rude, he's like, I don't want to be with you because you're just not a great person. And so she decides to make this project, because their class is studying Taming of the Shrew, to try to change herself for this guy, which is not the best idea. But she goes with it, and along this journey of changing herself for this guy, she learns that maybe she wants to change herself for herself and be a better person for her. So I love that. I will say, Cameron, it takes a lot for you to really feel for Cameron, because at the beginning you just loathe her because she's just mean and blunt and just doesn't care about anything but herself. And so it took a while for me to get to love Cameron, but when she got to the realization that she wanted to better herself for herself, I did enjoy seeing her journey. I enjoyed the romance that it took. I love the new friends that she made. If you're a big fan of Rocky Horror Picture Show, they talk about that a lot in this book, so in case you are interested in that. But I thought it was really good. Would I compare it again, like I said, to 10 Things I Hate About You? Absolutely not. They have completely different plots. Understandably so. You can't do like a Taming of the Shrew and a 10 Things I Hate About You retelling. So I wouldn't say this is like 10 Things I Hate About You, nor would I recommend it if you're looking for something that's very similar to that movie. That's not it. But if you're looking for somebody that wants to better themselves, that doesn't start off quite that way, but they get that way eventually, this is a great book for that. So I really enjoyed it. It's a great summer read. It's going to make you smile. It's going to make you feel like happy for a character to see them, you know, really develop and really start caring and having empathy for other people. The last book I want to talk about is Maybe This Time by Casey West. If you don't know, Casey West is one of my favorite YA contemporary authors. I've read all of her books. I've done a whole video talking about all of her books and what I rated them and which one I would recommend. I would leave that right here and down below. But this is a recent release, and I gave it a 3. That's not to say it's a bad thing at all. I've never given a Casey West book to 5. The highest I've ever given her books is a 4. I would say, honestly, if I was doing half stars this year, which by the way I've cut out, I would probably give this a 3.5. But thinking about that, would I think the 3.5 would round up to a 4 or round down to a 3? It would round down to a 3 for me. But I still enjoyed it. It's about a character named Sophie who works for a florist in a very small town. And basically, this book is told in events. So like the first one begins, I forget which event it is. I think it's Valentine's Day. The last event ends for New Year's the following year. And she meets this guy named Andrew who is working for a chef that is in town. So she really sees him at events. And they kind of have a hate relationship, and they banter and all that kind of stuff. Sophie is also a designer, and she wants to get out of her small town. She wants bigger and better things, and her family doesn't want her to move. Her friends don't want her to move. She has this hate relationship with Andrew, and that's kind of what it's about. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 because it was cute. I did enjoy it. It's a classic Casey West book, but there's not much more to it. I wanted more romance. I wanted more character development. I felt like it was very left off, open-ended, honestly. And also, I will say I did love the event aspect, because each chapter or each event she would, since she worked for a florist, she would say, you know, Valentine's Day retirement home dinner, tulip, grown from a bulb, tulips blossom in the spring. Yet one day somebody thought, hey, let's sell them on Valentine's Day, and everybody went along with it. Still not as popular as a rose, but cheaper, and therefore requested by the old folks home. So I love each chapter or each event has that kind of thing into it. Overall, a 3 out of 5. The last 2 Casey West books that have been released this year, I haven't loved a lot, but this one I say is significantly better than her like recent release, which was called, I forget what it was called because I didn't enjoy it. I have no clue what it's called. I'll leave it right here. I read it a few months ago. I'm horrible at not even remembering what it was called, but you know, it is what it is. Overall, I think this is a great summer read, especially if you like florist and the event catering thing. and especially the event aspect, which I am a sucker for, honestly, it's a cute read. I mean, I'll always continue to read Casey West books because I enjoy them and I fly through this one. I read it in like a day, so there you have it. So there you have my thoughts and opinions on these 3 books. I gave 2 4 out of 5 and I gave 1 3 out of 5. I would say my favorite out of this bundle would have to be Hungry Hearts because I found it very, I loved it. I loved the 13 stories. I really enjoyed the 13 stories about food. I thought it was interesting and I found it immersive to really get into and really get into the food, and good Lord, it makes me hungry thinking about it, but I love this one. But I also really enjoyed, if I'm being honest, it was really cute as well. And I also liked Maybe This Time. So I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts about each one of these. If you've read them, if you rated them the same as me or different, I would love to hear. So thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.